It only takes 1 second, one decision, one mistake, and suddenly everything changes. Because the moment a weapon becomes part of a robbery in the United States, the situation is no longer seen as just taking something. It becomes a violent felony that can send someone to prison for years, sometimes decades, before they even fully realize the weight of what's happening. What feels fast and temporary in the moment can quickly turn into a life-defining event, because the law does not just look at what was taken, it looks at the danger created, the fear experienced by the victim, and the risk that someone could have been seriously harmed or killed. And that is exactly why armed robbery is punished so severely across the country. Armed robbery is generally defined as taking property from another person through force, intimidation, or threat while carrying or using a deadly weapon. And what makes this charge so serious is that the weapon does not always have to be used. It doesn't even always have to be real, because if the victim believes it is real and feels threatened, the law treats it the same way, which means even implying that you have a weapon or showing something that appears to be one can elevate the situation into a major felony. This focus on perception is critical, because it means the case is not only about your actions, but about how those actions were experienced by someone else. And once fear is involved, the legal consequences increase dramatically. The moment law enforcement becomes aware of the situation, everything escalates quickly. Because armed robbery is treated as a high-risk crime, officers respond with urgency, and arrests are often immediate and forceful, especially if there is any indication that a weapon was involved. Police may rely on surveillance footage, eyewitness accounts, and other forms of evidence to identify suspects, and once an arrest is made, the accused is taken into custody, processed, and formally charged, usually with a felony offense that carries severe penalties. This is often the point where people realize that what seemed like a quick decision has now turned into a serious legal battle that will not go away easily. After the arrest, the accused appears before a judge for arraignment, where the charges are read and the legal process officially begins. And in armed robbery cases, bail is often set extremely high or denied altogether, especially if a firearm was involved or if there is concern about public safety, which means the person may remain in custody while the case moves forward. The legal process can be long and complex, involving pre-trial hearings, evidence review, negotiations, and sometimes a full trial. And throughout this time, the stakes remain incredibly high, because the outcome will determine how much of a person's life may be spent behind bars. One of the most important aspects of armed robbery cases is sentencing, because these charges often come with mandatory minimum penalties, meaning that if a person is convicted, the judge may have very little flexibility in reducing the sentence, regardless of personal circumstances or whether it is a first offense. Depending on the state and the details of the case, a conviction can lead to 10, 15, or even 20 years or more in prison, and in federal cases, if a firearm is used or carried during the crime, additional years can be added consecutively, meaning the sentences are stacked rather than served at the same time, significantly increasing the total time behind bars. This is one of the main reasons why armed robbery is considered so dangerous, because a single incident can quickly turn into a decades-long prison sentence. Another factor that makes this charge even more serious is that you do not have to be the person holding the weapon to face the same consequences, because under many laws, anyone involved in the robbery can be charged equally, meaning that acting as a lookout, driving a vehicle, or assisting in any way can still result in facing the full weight of an armed robbery charge. And this often surprises people who believe their role was minor, but find themselves dealing with the same severe penalties as the primary offender. The law focuses on participation and shared intent, which means once you are connected to the act, the consequences apply fully. If convicted, the consequences extend far beyond prison time, because a felony conviction for armed robbery becomes a permanent part of your record, affecting your ability to find employment, secure housing, and build a stable future. And in many cases, it also results in the loss of certain civil rights, including the right to legally possess firearms. For non-citizens, the consequences can be even more severe, as such a conviction can lead to deportation or denial of immigration benefits, turning a criminal case into a life-changing event that affects not just legal status, but entire life plans. Even after serving a sentence, the stigma of a violent felony can follow a person for years, making it difficult to fully rebuild their life and move forward. What makes armed robbery especially dangerous is how quickly everything can spiral out of control, because what may start as a plan that seems simple or temporary can instantly become a serious crime with long-term consequences the moment a weapon is introduced, and many people do not fully understand that until they are already facing charges. The difference between a minor offense and a major felony can come down to a single detail, and in this case, that detail is the presence of a weapon, which changes everything in the eyes of the law. In the end, armed robbery is one of those charges where one mistake can truly define the course of a person's life, because the legal system is designed to treat it as a serious threat to safety, not just a property crime, and once that line is crossed, the consequences are immediate, severe, and long-lasting. Years in prison, a permanent criminal record, and a future filled with challenges are all possibilities that can come from a single moment, and that is why understanding the seriousness of this charge is so important, because once a weapon is involved, there is no easy way back, and the path forward becomes one that is shaped by the full force of the law.